Hello, and welcome to Islamic Awakening, a program that delves deeply into the issues affecting both Muslims and Islam today. I'm your host, Ahmed Hanif. Today, I'm asking Professor Tariq Ramadan, how important is the concept of citizenship in Islam? In light of recent events, a large number of citizens in Western countries have become concerned by the Muslim presence. A recent populace poll revealed that 52% of respondents agreed with the proposition that Muslims create problems in the UK. Similar concerns are found in other European countries and the United States. As a result, many have said that Muslims can play a greater role in shaping their place in the wider communities they live in. So, given the challenging times Muslims are living in, we ask, can one be a loyal citizen of a non-Muslim country and a practicing Muslim at the same time? So this is a very interesting and important discussion, I think, with respect to the contemporary events as we find them being unfolded. And the first question I'd like to ask you, Dr. Tariq, is how important is the concept of citizenship in Islam?
I think this is an important question for two reasons. First, because we have literalists and some Islamic trends that are saying citizenship as muwatana, the concept in Arabic, doesn't exist in Islam, so we don't have to care about this. There is something which has to do with the Muslim ummah and the Muslim society. And then there is also the understanding in the contemporary discussion, what do we mean by citizenship? We have to come back to the principles of Islam, and we understand that from the very beginning, in the society in Mecca and then in Medina, the Muslims, with non-Muslims by the way, and this is what the Prophet, peace be upon him, said when he was talking about the Jews, لَهُمْ مَلَنَا وَعَلَيْهِمْ مَعَلَيْنَا. So it means they have the same rights and the same duties as us, meaning that in a structured society, you are dealing with other people and within the society through a contract. And this is something which is very important because we have a prophetic saying, a hadith saying, الْمُسْلِمُونَ عَنْدَ شُرُوطِهِمْ. So the Muslims should abide by the contracts. And you have a contract with the society. So this is what we call today a citizen. A citizen is a member of a structured society towards which he has duties and rights. And he has to abide by the legal framework to which he is loyal, and then at the same time he has rights coming from this. And from an Islamic perspective, in the legal tradition of Islam, this is central. So names could change. What is important are the principles behind. And as Muslims today, we don't have a problem with the concept of muwatana, with citizenship, meaning this is something which is important, with some very important rules and conditions. The first is to be acknowledged as an individual, to get your freedom, to get your rights, and to get equality. This is something which equal citizenship is essential. What I was mentioning about the Jews coming from the Islamic tradition is to say Christians and Jews and people of other faiths should have the same rights. And we, as Muslims living in societies, in republics or in democracies, we have to understand that there is a legal framework and that this is essential for us. We have to be part of the society, and this is where we should always say that as Muslims in the West, for example, we should avoid nurturing the sense of being a minority. In religious terms, we might be, but in civil terms, we are not. A citizen, there is no concept of minority citizenship in the West. So you have to be in the mainstream and to understand your duties and your rights within the society.
Now, couldn't a state marginalize a group, for example?
Yes, of course, and this is where it's very important when we have lots of discussion in the United Nations about minorities and human rights and minorities. And we have this in Muslim majority countries. Now when we come to the West, what we see is that there is a new informal concept, which is something which is strange. It's a foreign citizen. In fact, in legal terms, you are a citizen. But in the collective psychology, you are perceived as alien to the society, which is exactly what is happening to Muslims. I have a Swiss passport, but at the same time, I'm perceived as not really Swiss. And after 4 generations in France, in Britain, you are always being considered as citizens with an immigrant background. I'm sorry, we are all immigrants. The only difference between a migrant, an immigrant today, and a citizen is that the citizen is an older migrant. If you look at your history, you are always coming from somewhere.
Yes.
So it's just a question of time. So now we have to make it clear that what we want in the West, first, it's something that has to do with ourselves. It's our own narrative. We are Westerners, we are Europeans, and we are here to stay. So these are our countries. So it's something which has to do with our own psychology. We need to get rid of this perception that we are in a host country. I'm sorry, I'm at home here. So this is us first. And second, to make it clear to our fellow citizens and to our governments that they have to deal with Islam as a European religion, as a Western religion. It's over the time when we are talking about Islam as coming from somewhere. No, it's there, it's going to stay, and you have Islam as a European religion. And then you come to tackling or addressing some of the issues, discrimination, racism, Islamophobia, and to say, look, if you keep on having this narrative that we are not from within, you are going to have this kind of discriminations, and we have it where? On the job market. The housing, for example, to get a job, to get a house, and there are structural discriminations, and in order to go beyond this and to tackle these issues, we have to be part of the society and to speak in Britain or in France or in the Netherlands or in Europe or in the States as citizens. And
so there's a very important psychological dimension here.
Yeah,
when you say we have to speak as part of the society, we have to first accept ourselves as part of the society, regardless of whether they have marginalized us or not.
Yes, I think it's important, and it comes to the first question that you ask about citizenship. And we need to understand that, you know, myself, I have been writing about this for years, decades even, and I understood that the relationship, the legal framework is not enough. There is something which is essential here, is the sense of belonging. And Muslims sometimes are not clear about that. They say, I'm a British, I'm a French, but when it comes to the discussion, they themselves deal with it as if they were alien, not really. And if psychologically you don't feel that this is your country, it's going to be visible. How? Because in fact, you come to the mainstream discussions only when people are talking about Islam.
Right.
And this is wrong. We need to talk about education, we need to talk about economy, we need to talk about corruption, we need to talk about school and everything. This is
to
our
have an interest in the very environment that you are in on a holistic level.
A citizen doesn't only speak about issues that are, you know, related to his religion or her religion. Right. It's about our society. So this is one thing that we need to do, and this is our responsibility. On the other side, there is something which is also important. We should stop apologizing for everything. It's as if everything is happening, you know, with violence, and say, oh no, this is not Islam. And we end up being apologetic. And my take on loyalty is that there is no civil loyalty or the loyalty of the citizens, but a critical loyalty. And what does it mean, a critical loyalty? I'm loyal to my country, but how? By saying yes to everything? That this is not to be a citizen, this is to be colonized. And a blind loyalty is a wrong loyalty. As a citizen, I should be loyal and critically loyal. Meaning what? And it's, by the way, the same in Muslim majority countries. When my government is doing well, I'm going to support. By the government.
Doing good.
Good and well, yes, very good, that's the right term. But when they are betraying principles, we have to be critical by saying this is against our common principles. So, for example, if they go to war, if they are colonizing, you should, as a citizen, say no. And by the way, this is the essence of the Islamic teaching. Even with the ummah, help your brother or your sister when he or she is right. And wrong.
Right.
And one of the companions are saying, how can I help my brother when he's wrong? Stop him from doing wrong. So this is the critical loyalty we are talking about. We belong to our principles.
The right of dissent.
Exactly.
We have to have the right of dissent.
Yes,
Yeah?
but also the right to say to our brothers and sisters in Islam, that's wrong. That I'm not going to accept this as something which is Islamic. This is what we have to do with violent extremists and people killing innocent people. We have to be critical on that. But on the other side, it's also the same with our own governments. And I have a problem with some Muslims, or Western Muslims, or European Muslims. They want so much to be accepted that they end up saying yes to everything. And they want to be invisible. I'm sorry. Not only we have to be visible, but we have to be critically visible, and more than that, ethically visible. We should be an added value in our society.
Right.
And we have to be visible with our dresses, with our minds, with our intent, and with our contribution. So a citizen should be somebody who is adding something to the society. We should add something, and our presence is not to be perceived as a problem, but to be perceived as an asset within the society. But the problem is the people around us, and you mentioned, the figures are worrying about the fact that our fellow citizens, they have the perception that Islam is a problem and Muslims are creating problems.
Where does that come from? Where does that negative attitude towards Muslims come from? Who's caused that, or what has caused that?
I think that there are many reasons, and some of the reasons have nothing to do with Islam. They have to do with people are being scared because there is a European or Western identity crisis with globalization. Is that yesterday we were in our country, Britain, France, and now there is a sense that our old, yardsticks and milestones are just scattered. We don't know how do we belong to our own society. And globalization is a problem. Migration is a problem, that the people are coming and they are changing the very nature, the homogeneity of the society. Add to this that for a long time in Europe, it's as if religions were not visible. And here we have now people coming back, and we thought that with time they will be less practicing. And it's exactly the opposite. And not the people who are living in the suburbs or in the inner cities. The more educated Muslims are coming back to religion. How come? We thought that this was for the ignorant, and here we have educated people coming with a better understanding from their family. Because the families came with a modest background, looking for jobs, and now they are coming with something which is, yes, we are educated, and we speak about God, and we speak about religion. And then, okay, everything is changing. Pluralism is there, new visibility, and then this is spreading fear, because it's as if our society is changing. Add to this violence and what is coming from the Muslim majority countries and the media coverage. And this is where Muslims should understand their responsibility. As much as I will stand up against any government, any politicians instrumentalizing fear to win the next election, I will be respectful towards my fellow citizens who are scared of Islam, because if you watch TV today, if you are not scared, you are not normal.
Right.
We have to respect this and to understand what is my role here. To be much more vocal, much more visible, to be mainstream, to talk to the people, to explain what Islam is, and to stop being apologetic and saying what Islam is not. I'm fed up with this discourse about, Islam is nice, it's not violence. No, come with spirituality, come with the values, show out of your presence, with your contribution to the society, how Islam is making you a good citizen, a good value, and someone who is contributing to the society. It's also a value.
It's interesting that you didn't mention extremism and terrorism as one of the means whereby people are alienated from Muslims. Why is this?
No, but I think you are right.
Yeah.
Within
these countries.
We have to add to this. I was talking about the international scene and what is happening in Muslim majority countries, but violence and terrorism, of course. And we can see what happened in the States, and what happened in Madrid, what happened in London, what happened in France about violence and violence extremists coming to the country. And on this, of course, it has an impact. And it has an impact. And this is where we have to be clear with our principles. What is done is against our religion. This is not Islamic. And we have to show Islamically how much this is against our Islam. So it's a religious discourse. But now we have also to come to something which is deeper than that. And this is why we have to stop saying, oh, it's only religious, a religious consequence or a reader understanding, and we are criticizing this. We have to come to the reasons, the causes of what this is happening. First, a wrong understanding of Islam. And second, what is happening in Muslim majority countries where there is no freedom, no citizenship, no democracy. And then third, to come to the policies that are coming from the West. Because we are not just coming to deal with the consequences, say, oh, this has nothing to do with Islam.
Right.
Let us come to the causes. The own inconsistencies coming from the West. Who are you supporting? You are supporting dictatorships. You are killing people. You are killing innocent people. And there is a double standard. When it comes to Palestinians, it's as if their life has no value.
Right.
And then when it comes to white middle class, our soldiers, it's as if it's a scandal. No, it's a scandal. Life is life. And we need to deal with, as long as we have a double standard in the way we deal with, casualties, it's not going to help us to come to equality. And if we are serious about citizenship, it starts with equality.
Yes. Now, to what extent can one say that the Muslim community has a responsibility to create among themselves a proper understanding of Islam by which they can apply it to the West? By this I mean, you have groups, for example, in Britain that attack Britishness, for example, and are more oriented towards this type of trans-state idea of the Ummah, by which they could import their struggle, their violent struggle, or their ideological struggle outside of the country, inside, Yeah. You have also, for example, young people being radicalized, and this radicalization preys upon this sense of alienation in the societies in which they live. So it becomes easy for them in those societies to do things that are against public safety, for example.
Yes.
What could the Muslim community do, or what aren't we doing, that makes these things possible?
Yes, I think it's a critical question, and I always start in with responsibility by saying there is a shared responsibility. And if we say there is a shared responsibility, we have to come to the Muslim community and the leadership and what we are doing. If we are citizens in a country, we need to understand that we need something which is institutionalizing our presence. We need institutions. We don't need only mosques or schools. We need institutions where we are training imams, where we are training people, understanding the context and understanding religion. What we are not doing is this. We are still very amateurs in the way we are dealing with these central issues. We need, spaces, even universities, where institutions where we are dealing with this, to teach this Islam. And then there is something which is very important in what you are saying. We have to challenge some interpretations. We have to stop being shy about this. The Muslims, in the name of brotherhood and sisterhood, we don't talk about this. No, don't talk. We have to be united. I'm sorry. Superficially united is deeply divided. This is the reality of it. We need to be deeply united in some of the principles by saying, look, stop coming with a very narrow understanding of our scriptural sources and saying to the Muslims, you are only good with your people and you have to show that you are bad because you are even taking weak ahadith, weak tradition, by saying مَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ, that the one who is resembling to a community is one of them, so you have to distinguish with yourself, to separate, to isolate yourself. This is a discourse which is problematic, and we have to be quite clear on this, that this is not the way forward, that we have to be part of the society. So we need now to build a rational narrative.
Why haven't we done this earlier? I mean, you say we are amateurs at this. We've been around for quite a while. Why haven't we developed these types of attitudes and approaches?
Because there are two things. When you look at history, 3 or 4 generations for people to settle down is not a long time. And within this period of time, we have been doing a lot. In 50 years, the discourse of Muslims have completely changed, even about citizenship, to feel that we are part of the society. So we are moving. Now we have to stop complaining and come with true understanding of what it means to be a Western, a European Muslim by getting this institution. So you are right, we have to acknowledge the fact that this should have been done before. Now we also have to be humble and to look at who came first. The people who came first were not so educated. They wanted first the spaces where they can pray.
Right.
And now we have something which is very important. Do you know why do we have this crisis today in the West? Because there is a new visibility of Muslims. And in fact, they were here yesterday, 2 decades ago, but they were not visible. Why? Because they were geographically isolated. Now they are getting out of the ghetto, the geographical ghetto, the intellectual ghetto. They are coming. Now they are seen as journalists, as teachers, as more and more within professions where they were not there. So we have to be patient but committed with some of the priorities that we have with these institutions, this discourse. We need a vision for Western Muslims.
So on a positive level, we are moving ahead.
Yes, that's for sure.
But there are some forces that sort of retarding us or slowing that process down. And one of these forces is ideology, things like takfirism and Salafism and so forth. How do we combat that? First of all, what's their role? What's their role with respect to this progress? Right. And how do we combat that?
I think that there are two forces, internal force and external force, that are playing against this movement, this historical movement. The first movement from within is these people who are, have a binary mindset, is us versus them. The Takfiri are saying, as long as you are not with us, you are even outside Islam. They even put me outside Islam by saying that Tariq Ramadan is kafir murtad, that just, an apostate. They say, this understanding of Islam is dangerous. And sometimes we need to understand that some forces from outside are supporting them, because this is confirming what they want the people to think about Islam, that it's all about confrontation. And you have Salafi literalists, and these people are sometimes supported by Gulf states. And who is dealing with the Gulf states in complete contradiction with the democratic process is our own governments in the West.
Right.
So they want their money, and they accept their ideology. So that's not going to work.
Right.
And this is why I'm saying to Western Muslims, we need 4 types of independence. The first is a religious independence. Now we have to find our way to deal with Islam in the context and the European and the Western context. Financial independence. Be free. And when money is coming from a state, you are not going to be free. So you have to be financially independent. And then you have to be intellectually independent to ask the questions, to be free enough to ask the right questions about your religion. And this was the way it was at the beginning of Islam. And you have culturally to be independent. What does it mean? You should not be an Arab to be a good Muslim. A good Muslim, this is to come to the principles of Islam. It has nothing to do with
transcends ethnicity.
Exactly, it's beyond that. So you can be, and you don't have to be scared of the European. Take from the European cultures what is good with your religion, and this is what is called in the Islamic tradition maslaha. It's the ethical interest of the people that you can take from wherever you find it, and wherever as long as it's good, as long as it's wise. Al-hikmatu dallatul Muslim, wisdom is the lost property of the Muslim. He will take it, or she will take it from wherever it comes. So we have to deal with this understanding. Now we have external forces that are playing against this, which has to do with people who are trying to nurture, populism, nurture this sense that as long as you are Muslim, as soon as you are Muslim, you cannot be a good European, and they are nurturing this, and we have to deal with both at the same time in a wise way, dedicated, knowing our priorities, and just trying to translate our vision into something which is practical in our daily life.
I want to thank you very much. I want to thank Dr. Tariq Ramadan for a very enlightening approach to this very, very important issue. We have to have our own independence in this part of the world to present, understand Islam from within this environment, and to see ourselves as part and parcel of the society in which we live, not just as Muslim citizens, but as citizens of these countries. And I think you're quite right. I think once we see ourselves in that particular context, I think we would have arrived at a very close distance to achieving the victory over the kinds of exclusivism and stereotyping that Muslims find themselves in this world today. I want to thank you all for joining us in this show, and we would like to thank also Dr. Tariq Ramadan, and of course all of you at home. We thank you for watching, and until next time, on another edition of Islamic Awakening, it's a goodbye from me and the whole team.